for story time. So honestly, I'm not even gonna talk too much. Let's just jump right into it. And this is actually one of the main reasons why I don't like having a boss anymore, why I just like working for myself. So I feel like it's like a little bit of motivation and kind of like a crazier story at the same time, if that makes sense. But anyway, I don't know how exactly to do this without it being like offensive or weird, or like, I don't know, I feel like I don't want to give like that much information away. But basically, I love animals so much, so I have always had like an interest in them. I went to a 2-year vocational school to learn more about animal science, and I did very well. And it's always been like a huge passion of mine to take care of animals. That's why I'm vegan, because I don't like to eat them, since I love them so much. It's just always been a thing for me. Like, I've always loved animals. So I got an internship through the 2-year vocational school that I was going to, and you know, I really liked it. Like, I don't know if I want to say like where it was. I don't think I'm going to. I'm sure you guys can just connect the dots yourself. Oh, at this place there was lots of animals. There were monkeys, alligators, otters, there were bugs, there were fish there. There were also parrots and whatnot. Okay, I'm sure you take a pretty good guess off of one of those animals what the building primarily was. I had a lot of fun in the beginning. I was so eager to learn. It was such like it was a very competitive internship, or so I heard. A lot of people applied for it and not a lot of people were accepted for it. So, you know, I had to put together like this whole resume. I had to get letters of recommendation. I got recommendations from my teacher. I got recommendations from like, I don't even remember. I think I got one from my coordinator at the vocational school too. I did such a good job when I was in animal science. Like, let me tell you, everything I've ever done in life, I've put my all into. So when I wanted to work with animals when I was younger, when I tell you, like, my all went into that shit, my all went into that shit. And so I really thought that I had this in the bag just because of how well I was doing in the class, because of all the jobs and all the experience I have with animals and all the information that I've learned, like, you know, in the school itself. Like, I got totally professional for this interview, and she asked me like a few questions and like what experience I have and everything like that, because I had qualifications like animal restraint, animal grooming, animal husbandry, you know, just like very basic things. But I also did know a lot like anatomy and physiology and just shit like that. I remember the day that I got into it. It was before I could drive, and I looked at my phone and I saw like, oh, congratulations, you have been accepted, and it showed me my calendar, and I was like, I screamed in the car. I was in the car with my grandma, my great grandma, my ex-boyfriend, and I was like, I got the fucking like internship, like fuck. And I was so excited because, you know, I thought that this was like the perfect like big opportunity, and it was like a big opportunity for me to flex and say that I had something like that, because that's like it was a very big deal to me at the time. So everything was going well, and I was just trying to, you know, introduce myself to everyone there, and I was trying to talk to everyone, all of like the heads of the departments. I was trying to like get my hands on like a little bit of everything while I was there. I got to speak to the head of the department one day, and I didn't even realize he was the head of the department. Like, we were just like making small talk, and we're just gonna call him the bug dude. That's what we're gonna call him, because he doesn't even really deserve a name, because he's fucking weird. But then he was just like, oh, like, have you had any other internships, blah blah. And like, it was all very professional, and I was like, yeah, I had an internship at the, and he was like, oh, me too. Like, he's like, but I wasn't an intern, I was coordinating the greenhouse there too, with the butterfly room and stuff like that. But like it was all dead for like the rest of that summer with him, like just like strictly friendly shit. There were these things called like lectures, so you had to like learn like lectures on each one of the animals at the aquarium, like each one of the exhibits that had a talk, because the main purpose of this place was to educate the public on these animals. Like, I did, like, the otter talk was my favorite, so I was all up in that shit, like all the time, and I was just trying to learn as much as I possibly could. So that summer went very well. Like the way it ended was very good. Like I was sad to leave some of the people because it was like I was more connected with the interns than with the actual workers themselves. I asked her, I was like, well, what do I have to do to get a job here? And she was like, oh, well, most internships don't get jobs. This was one of my other bosses who was a woman. I'm not gonna say her name either because she's not very important to the story, but she was like, well, you have to do a lot, like you have to like memorize like all the lectures and stuff like that. So I literally, like, I had the packets at my house and I studied them like all throughout the school year just to get the job for next year. I talked to her about it like a few months ahead, and I was like, look, like, and this person I will name, I had 2 female bosses. The one who I'm not going to mention at all, she's not important to the story really, and the other one, we're gonna call her Cindy. We're gonna call her Cindy. So I messaged Cindy because at this point me and Cindy had no issues. We had no like problems, no beef, whatever. So I was like, yeah, like I'd love to get a job there, like what would I have to do? She told me like, we'd love to have you back, blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like, so then at this point now I'm like happy, and I'm like, shit, I got this shit in the bag. Like I've been doing so much work, I've been busting my ass all year to get this shit done. Like I have just been trying so hard. So like I'm good for next summer. I'm lit. I run into the bug guy again and we're like, oh hey, you know, like what's up? And then I run into Cindy and I run into like some of the other employees that, you know, and I found this kind of rude too, because when we worked at this place, everything was very like tight knit. We all worked together, employees and interns worked together, and they didn't even like remember who I was. Like they treated me like a stranger for a good majority of the summer until I was finally like, you know, I'm an intern here, right? You know I was an intern here, right? Like they were treating me like a fucking idiot during like the first like half of the, like some of them were nice, not all of them, but some of them really did treat me like a fucking idiot. And that's another reason why I hate having jobs, is because everything is very like I feel like people get very cliquey, and I have never been one to like be like a part of like a clique like that. I was always doing the right thing. I was always trying to stay like on top of my shit in that job. So in the bug room, the greenhouse room, whatever you want to call it, one of the big rules, the bug guy, the bug director, he was always very big on like, well, obviously no one was supposed to touch the butterflies, no one was supposed to touch the flowers, so I was always on top of everyone, like, oh, like, please don't touch that, please don't. And you have to like do it in like a nice way, and part of the job is like interacting with the people that are coming in, like the visitors to the spaces. So I was trying to like educate, and also like can't like tell the kids like, oh, please don't do that, please don't do that. Most people like would just like talk to people, and some people would even like let them touch the butterflies, which is like, you're just not supposed to do that. Like this isn't like animal education, so I'm not really gonna get into it, but like you're not supposed to do that. Like it hurts them, like it damages them, and they die a lot faster. But you know, people weren't listening, like I said, so he started having these meetings before work, and he would have like a little group of the employees and the interns and the volunteers come in and teach them about the butterflies once again, because nobody was listening. And everyone was required to go, and he was like, he actually like told me what he thought. He's like, I know, like, you know what you're like doing, but this is for everyone, blah blah. So I was like, all right, cool, like whatever. Like, and I thought I was the shit because I really did know a lot about the animals there. So I was just like, yeah, like I get it, it's fine, whatever. So like this is when shit starts to get weird. Not like weird, like I don't even know, it wasn't that intense, but I was standing in the butterfly room, and like one of the other things is like you aren't supposed to text, right? But I was like low-key texting. I was like low-key like on my phone, like, you know, like whatever, like, but like in the corner of the room. Tell me why this man's, the bug director, comes over to me and like he like, I didn't even know he was there too. So like I was like texting on my phone like this, right? And all of a sudden I just feel like this hand like lightly come across my waist and like down towards my butt, like just a little bit, just enough to like almost cop a feel. And I was like, and I like look over to my side and it's the bug dude, and I'm like, Okay, I don't know why I didn't stand up for myself. I don't know why I didn't. I was just like waiting for him to like get the fuck off of me. And he starts talking to me. He's like, and he gets like real close. He's like, just make sure you text when no one else is in here, okay? And I was like, okay, peace. I gotta start rotating anyway, because like we would rotate like to each station, each exhibit, like every like half hour. Slowly, like but surely, I stopped seeing him in the room like as much as I used to, when he would like check on the flowers, check on the bugs when I was on that station. I was in charge of a volunteer one day, and like, you know, just because of like the fact that like I got the job, like I was like an intern and then I was an employee, I was so passionate about that job at this point still. So I was trying to like push everyone like, oh, work here, it's like, it's a good job. Like even though like no one would really talk to me, she's like basically shadowing me at this point. This woman comes over and she starts talking to us, and she's like, oh, you know, would you know anything about caterpillars if I showed you a picture of them? And I was like, oh, like I might, like I know some stuff about them, you know what I mean? Part of the job, first of all, is to be very, 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 very nice and very respectful of everyone who comes to visit. So if someone starts a conversation with you, they tell you that even if you're gonna be late to your next rotation, try to wrap it up, but not in like a rude way. You know, like I'm walking around, like I'm rotating, and then I don't remember the exact context of what was said, but I remember it was like, you know, why don't you actually do your job type of thing. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like he's like, oh, well, whatever, like don't let them touch them, whatever, like if you can't do your job, then don't expect to be put into this room anymore. And I was just like, all right. And it was like in front of like a bunch of people too, so like now people are looking at me, and like he's like embarrassing me in front of the people that are just coming here to visit, and they're all like talking about me, like I can see. And it was towards the end of my rotation at that point, so then I just left because I was upset. And then word starts getting around, and the bug dude doesn't want me in his room anymore, which is weird because he always said like, oh, like I did such a good job, whatever. So now at this point I'm thinking like, I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that he was like touching me and I wasn't like entertaining it. And my other boss, and this is the woman that employed me, this is the woman that got me the internship, and we're calling her Cindy. Cindy pulls me over to the side. She said, I was wondering why, you know, the bug dude doesn't want you in his room anymore. And I was like, honestly, I was like, I don't know. And like at this point, like I thought she was like on my side. I should have known because this is where shit gets fucked up, okay? They are like you know, like everyone's like very like weird with each other. They're like, you're not really supposed to have like relationships at a job, obviously. The two heads of the department who weren't married, they were like fucking on the side, and they were having a kid. They were having a kid, and they both like were like keeping their jobs, like whatever, acting like nothing was going on, acting like they weren't fucking. And it was just like how does that even happen? Because I feel like at a normal job someone else would have gotten fired, but whatever, that's really none of my business. I explained to her the situation about the visitor who was talking to me, and she's like, yeah, I just think he's a little upset right now, like he's just very stressed about everything, so I think he'll be okay, whatever. And I was like, oh, like all right, you know what I mean? He just like continuously got like more and more pissy with me, continued to like not let me come into his room. I started to notice that this woman, Cindy, started to take me off of lectures and treat me like garbage. Like, okay, so the bug dude is mad at me, and Cindy's mad at me, and no one likes me here really that much. So I started to feel like very uncomfortable about being there. I felt like I couldn't even do what I went there to do in the first place. It got to a point where Cindy, the boss who fucked the bug dude who was pregnant with his baby, she really started to treat me like trash. And I remember one day very specifically at the at this place that it was torrentially downpouring. Like if I have snaps, I'm gonna put them in, because it was like everyone was like, no one was going to the outdoor exhibits because it was like a fucking hurricane outside. This bitch was making me stand outside. No one else was standing outside, so I was like, all right, like, because we only have like, by the time we get to our lunch breaks, we literally only have like 15 minutes, and I had lunch next, so I was like, I'm just gonna take like a little bit longer of like a lunch. This bitch starts screaming at me in the food court in front of everyone, like, but like not like in front of me, like across the food court, screaming at me in this place. And a customer actually pulled me over to the side when she was done screaming at me, and she was like, that was like totally unfair. And like everyone in the room felt like bad for me, like they had like so much pity for me. And then every single time I went back to that food court, the employees there had so much pity for me just because of how that bitch treated me. Like, I'm standing outside, right, in the rain, in the torrential downpours, standing outside in the rain. There isn't a customer in sight, there isn't a visitor in sight. I now looked like I have jumped into a fucking pool. My hair is soaked, my shirt is soaked. You can see my bra through my shirt, and I had on these khaki fucking pants, whatever, that we had to wear, and they were soaked, and you could see my fucking thong. And she's making me walk around like that, making me walk around soaking wet like a fucking wet mop. The place itself, the inside of this place, flooded. There were lakes of water, like rainwater, in this place. So I was like, and I'm like looking, I'm like, I can't believe this bitch just made me stand outside in this. Like, I honestly couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And like, there were some people that I thought that were nice to me from the from this place that I was working at, and over time I just realized, like, because some of them like followed me on Instagram, most of them, like, I followed some of them on Instagram, most of them wouldn't even follow me back. And like, I don't even care, it's not like a thirsty thing, but it's just like, we work together, like, you know damn well who I am, because like I had pictures of myself working there, and like none of them fucked with me like that, and I was nice to every single one of them. So I was just like, bye. Let me just tell you right now, I didn't get paid for the whole summer. In the midst of all of this, right, I worked for an entire summer, and Cindy didn't pay me. So now I'm just like, you know, like, when am I gonna get my money? Like, calling, you know what I mean, like calling them a million times, when am I gonna get my money, like, and she, and like, because the whole time I was working there, she kept handing me, like, she kept handing me back my working papers and everything, and she's like, you didn't give me this, you didn't give me that, you didn't give me this, like, in the process of while she was being a bitch to me, when she wouldn't let me do lectures, when she was keeping me off everything, when everyone else was treating me like a moron. She actually, at some point in the summer, like, threw like this huge stack of papers that I gave her that I had to fill out, and she was like, this is wrong, do it again. And like, she didn't even take the ones that were right, she just handed me like the whole stack, and she's like, fix it, like, whatever, blah blah. So I was like, okay, whatever. And like, I kept trying to fix it, and then at some point I just like stopped trying. But then my family was like, you need to get your money from this shit, like, you didn't work a whole summer for nothing. So I was like, all right, fine. And so now months have gone by, right, since I haven't been there. Months. And still no paycheck, nothing. I have gotten nothing for the entire summer that I worked. Towards the end of my high school career is when I got my paycheck, because I started threatening to get lawyers involved. What is that place? I think it's like OSHA. They protect workers' rights and everything like that. I was calling lawyers, like, I was getting people, and I told her, I was like, I am going to get people involved if you don't pay me soon. And then eventually she was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll pay you, like, whatever. Because there were times in between there too where I would go there and I would hand her, she's like, oh, I need 2 valid forms of ID from you. That's what she kept telling me, it wasn't valid. And I gave her like my license, and I had like my passport and my license and my permit, and like, and she was like, no, that's not acceptable, giving me such a hard time. And then, like I said, as soon as I threatened to get the law involved, she was like, okay, we'll mail it to you. And I was like, thanks. Like, and it basically just proved that she was just fucking me over. And I think it's because she found out that her man's kind of had like a thing for me. And just a little side note, I used to like post like more like body posy pictures, so they were like pretty much like half naked pictures, whatever, like, and it never really bothered me that much. And this man too, like, this I know I'm not just like tripping about it, he literally used to like them. Like, I posted a picture in like my bathing suit or whatever. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, it might still be up actually. Who are you? You could go through this if you want and try to figure out who it was. It was this picture. I posted this picture when like my hair was short. Let me see if I can get closer. Posted this picture on my Instagram, and this picture has, let's see if you could see the amount of likes. Let's see. I don't know if you could see it, but that's a lot of likes. If you want to go through them, I'm pretty sure that he still has, like, his like is still there in those. So if you'd like to see it, that's where it is. Oh my god. During my story time, really though. Really though. Really. Anyways, that was the end of my story time anyway. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I have more interesting ones. Like, this wasn't really that interesting. I just felt like, oh, stop. Come here, baby. Come over here. Come here. Don't be crazy. Don't be crazy. Come say hi to the vlog. Come say hi to the vlog. Yeah. Oh, psycho. Okay, so yeah, I just felt like that would be like a quick little story to tell you guys and let you know why I'm a crazy bitch now who is just all about YouTube and all about being my own boss, is because of bitches like that and situations like that. So the most lit way to be in life is to be your own boss. That's basically the moral of this story, so you don't have to deal with fucking creeps and weirdos out in the real world. So it's love, appreciate it. Yeah, wavy baby.